Oh, you're so beautiful. How are you? Thank you so much for making time for me.
You are more than welcome. This has been a long time coming.
I know. I'm loving the color scheme and the eyeshadow, ma'am. Yes.
I gotta be on camera for Sister Day.
Now, I have to say before we officially begin that I was like, when I was like trying to research just where, like some of the things I wanted to ask you about, say to
Hmm.
you, like I am a very emotional person. So when I was listening to Erica on the TED Talk and I listened to some of your podcasts, I was just like, Lord, let me go ahead and grab this Kleenex real quick.
I
Because,
cry every time I listen to that TED Talk.
oh my
Every
God.
time I listen to it, which is why I used to play it every ceasefire weekend, and I had to stop because I would get choked up all up and through here.
Oh
Yeah.
my I wanted to give listeners an opportunity, in your own words, to tell me, for people that are unaware of what the Baltimore ceasefire is, what that entails. What
Yep.
is that exactly?
Absolutely. And I love telling this story. So back in 2015, Erica Bridgeford and Kevin Beasley, aka Ogun, had a conversation because Ogun got inspired to call a ceasefire. So Ogun pays attention to international news, and he said that whenever he hears the word ceasefire, especially as it pertains to like the what's going on in the Middle East, it makes him sit up and pay attention. And Baltimore was in trouble because our murder rate just kept climbing. And so for him, he was like, I wonder what would happen if we called a ceasefire in Baltimore. He asked a couple of people. People were like, okay, that's cute. That's real cute. He asked Erica. Erica was like, definitely. And then life just happened to everybody. The uprising happened, and just a lot of stuff was happening in and around Baltimore. Erica has been doing peace work in Baltimore for a little over 20 years. Ogun has been engaged in community activism and community support and all advocacy for probably 15 years. It might be more than that. Um, and Erica's driving home with her adult son one day, and Paul asks, okay, so Ma, did you know that we're on record as a city to have the highest number of murders like ever? And she was like, what are you talking about? And so they went into a conversation about that. And she said when she went home, there's something in her just got like mad, just like real mad. You know, all these people talking about what they can do in Baltimore, like they not doing enough to stop people from killing each other. And in her mind, because she's already doing the work, she felt justified in sitting in that place of judgment. But then later that night, she remembered her mom and her dad, who actually intentionally conceived her with the thought, the idea, the intention, and the notion that this baby right here is going to go change the world. So she remembered that. She remembered the principles. Her dad is an ex-Panther. You know, if you see a problem in the world and it moves you, it's your responsibility to do something about it.
Amen.
She gets up the next day and was like, I don't think I'm gonna just chill. I ain't gonna say nothing about any. I'm mad, but I ain't gonna say nothing to anybody. But like it just kept bothering her, and because she had been doing peace work and advocacy for so long, and I think she said she started talking around like 5 months old, something like really weird,
Wow.
that she has language, she has a connection with spirit and ancestors.
Amen.
And I've said to her plenty of times, nobody else in Baltimore City could have called a ceasefire and it happened this way.
Mm.
And so she and I had a conversation. She asked, Ogun, did you still want to do the ceasefire thing? And he was like, yeah, like, I feel like the time is right. So she called on me, Jakia Jones, Michelle Herring, and we had a conversation. It actually started, so the ceasefire started in a Facebook chat.
Oh.
The conversation about ceasefire started in a Facebook chat where she pulled us in and she was like, I have this idea about doing, initially it was called a life over death weekend, where people in Baltimore City would be so focused on celebrating life that we would do everything that we could to avoid death. A few days later, she remembered Darnell, who is one of, like, Darnell and Ogun are amazing men and are classic examples of what a balance of healthy manhood are. And so she brought Darnell into the fold. We had a conversation about how whatever it is that we do, it can't be about us. It really has to be about the city and galvanizing people and entities in the city. It can't be about blaming the police. It can't be about what the mayor and the government isn't doing. It really is about building people's muscle. Individual people in Baltimore City building their muscle for us to save us and to remind us of our self-esteem. Because in this city, we've been told so many things, so many toxic things about ourselves for so long that we've come to believe those things.
Absolutely.
So fast forward to May 9th, 2017, we had a public meeting at the Baltimore Community Mediation Center. And at that meeting, about maybe 10 to 12 people showed up and we had a discussion. What are we going to call this? And at that meeting, we decided that we would call whatever it is that we're going to do the Baltimore ceasefire. Baltimore ceasefire, you hear that word, you hear those words and you hear, okay, nobody shoot anybody. But we were thinking, okay, but we need to get everybody in Baltimore involved. There's a small percentage of people in Baltimore City who are going around shooting people. The larger percentage of Baltimore City is not doing that. So how do we get those people involved so that they can take responsibility for the city? And that's where we came up with the Baltimore Peace Challenge. So you hear us talk about the ceasefire all the time because obviously we're prioritizing people putting guns down. But the Baltimore Peace Challenge, and it is a challenge to be peaceful because we live in a society that nurtures violence. We live in a society that believes that violence is power. And so
it's in the DNA.
Being peaceful for a lot of people is like, oh, that's that weak stuff. Like, we don't do that. But we want people to think about the ways that they manage and mismanage conflict. Conflict is normal. It's inevitable. You be around somebody long enough and y'all going to end up in conflict with one another. We have gotten to the point in the city that conflict escalates to violence and that violence escalates to murder. And that's unnatural. So we did a fundraiser where we were selling T-shirts. We told people we want flyers and posters, this idea that we want you to go. We don't want you to be able to go anywhere in Baltimore City without seeing a poster that's saying that we're going to have a ceasefire the first weekend in August 2017. It took us about 3 months, 2.5 months to get people to really start paying attention to us. And there's some post on Reddit.com that went viral. And when that post about Baltimore went viral, everybody started contacting us. What's this thing that y'all doing? Y'all doing something the first weekend in August? It's a ceasefire. Y'all don't want anybody to kill anybody for 72 hours. Like, what are y'all doing? Media started reaching out to us from international media. So I tell people all the time, I did an interview with somebody who is in Portugal and the interview was in Portuguese. I don't read Portuguese, so I have absolutely no idea what that interview says. But the world started paying attention to Baltimore. And of course you had naysayers. I get it. People have called ceasefires before and nobody kill anybody for 72 hours. All right, so what they gonna do on Monday? Like, people had all kinds of questions. This is a novel idea. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did was encourage people to celebrate life. So we kept in that life over death concept, create events that affirm life. You don't need our permission to do it. The events can look like whatever you want them to look like. This is a self-determination movement. So you get to decide what peace looks like in Baltimore City. And so there were, I think, over 50 events that were planned that August ceasefire weekend. And at the time that we called a ceasefire, somebody was being murdered in Baltimore City on average once every 19 hours. So getting through a 72-hour weekend where nobody got killed, like that was a tall order. But we were, and it made us think, okay, so what's going to happen if somebody happens to get killed during a ceasefire weekend? Because people were getting killed and they were numbers and they were stats. But like the city was numb to a lot of what was happening. So we decided as a movement that we would find the family, support the family the best way that we could, and to offer them money, and they could do whatever they want with the money. Fast forward to the first 24 hours of the August ceasefire, like the air in Baltimore City felt different. And everybody kept saying it. It was like, it's something about today that just feels different. And we got through the first 24 hours, and collectively as a city, like we felt like that was a big thing. It was something for us to celebrate. We're moving through Saturday, attending events, navigating events. And then I think it was around 5:00 that Saturday afternoon, we got a notification from the Baltimore City Police Department that Lamontre got killed. None of us knew him. None of us had a connection with him. And I remember I was at a happy hour when I got the notification, and I felt like my chest caved in. Because I was like, we were doing everything that we could so that we wouldn't get that call. And then like 3.5 hours later, we got another call that Dante Johnson had gotten killed. And it was hard for us not to feel defeated, but we were determined. We were like, okay, like we got through a whole day and a half, where nothing happened and people were celebrating and everything. And then the Sunday of the ceasefire, nobody got killed. So 67 of 72 hours where people remained alive in Baltimore. That was a win for us. And when we found Lamontre's family, we surrounded his family with love and support. One of the churches that supported ceasefire early in the beginning, Kingdom Life Church, they did his funeral for free. There's a place called Power Inside. Power Inside donated the funeral plots to the mom. And so I think she owns either 3 or 4, so she can get buried next to her son, because she said she didn't have money to bury her son. So the next day, we had a public meeting at the Community Mediation Center. And when I tell you, it was wall-to-wall people in here. Like people were like, all right, I see what because Baltimore is, and it can be a good thing, and then it's sometimes not a good thing, that we're a show me city. Because you're not just going to tell me anything. Like, you got to show me and demonstrate that you're actually able to do what you said that you were going to do, and then I'll get behind you. And so we demonstrated, and they were like, all right, we're going to get behind this movement. And that's where Baltimore Ceasefire 365 comes from. Because initially, we were just going to do the one weekend. In my mind, I'm always extra thinking grand. Oh, no. We pulled this off in 3 months. So what if we called a ceasefire every 3 months? Right. And Erica was like, okay, all right, I think that's doable. So August, November, February, and May. And when we realized that the ceasefire was going to happen in May, because all of the other ceasefires happened the first full weekend of the month. So that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We were like, oh, it's in May. It shouldn't be the first weekend. It should be Mother's Day weekend. Because if we're going to try to save somebody's life, let's try to do it Mother's Day weekend. And so that ceasefire in May happens Mother's Day weekend. We also realized that moms, women in general, are very loud when we lose our loved ones. We scream to the top of our lungs because somebody won't hear me about me losing my baby. But we hadn't given a lot of thought and consideration to the dads and the uncles and the brothers who have lost their loved ones, because men suffer in silence in a very, very different way. And so we ask people, if you're going to plan an event during ceasefire weekend, we encourage you to remember men and to create space for them so that they can feel loved on, because, you know, they've lost loved ones as well.
Right.
The November ceasefire weekend happened to occur during daylight savings time. So we actually had 73 hours that we needed to get through instead of 72. We were like, okay. So the first November ceasefire weekend, we got to Friday into Saturday morning, and Tony Mason was sitting in a car. He was a police officer. He was sitting in a car, and somebody walked up on the car and shot the car up. And then something amazing happened, because we hear about all of the people who get killed in Baltimore City. I can tell what's going on in the city by what the news is reporting. So when the news starts reporting people getting shot, I can tell that people aren't dying from getting shot. So the last 48 hours of that November ceasefire weekend, everybody in Baltimore put their guns down. Nobody got shot in the city.
Word.
And that was amazing to us, because the police, the police media person, we had a relationship with him. He called us that Saturday and was like, I think they listening to y'all, because we haven't gotten any reports that anybody got shot. And then that Sunday, he was like, okay, they definitely listening to y'all. We had 6 more days in November 2017 where nobody got killed. Fast forward to February 2018. Now remember, Lamontre lost his life during the August ceasefire weekend. That February 2018 ceasefire, the first day of that February ceasefire was his birthday. Man. We had, starting that day, 11 and a half days in the city where nobody got killed. And it was the longest stretch of time that we had seen in Baltimore since 2014.
That's what's up.
And so the media, you know, everybody, at first people were like, okay, nobody got killed. Like, that's cute. But then it was like, okay, it's been 4 days. Wait a minute, it's been 5 days. Oh, wait, it's been 7 days and nobody. So when Sadiq got killed on that 11 and a half day, we were just like, no. And we had conversations with his mom. We did a sacred space ritual. And she talked to us about how troubled her son was and how her son wasn't a bad kid. Like, he had things that had happened to him that made him live the way that he did. And one of the things that has changed about my perspective since doing peace work is that people should have an opportunity to redeem themselves. There are some things that once you do them, you can't undo them. But everybody should have an opportunity to redeem themselves. Absolutely. And so if I do something, depending on the level of egregiousness, like, it's not for you to decide whether or not I should be here anymore. Because once I'm not here anymore, I can't make amends at all. Right. So the May 2018 ceasefire weekend, something happened to a child, but we're not 100% sure. We don't think that it was homicide. It wasn't reported as a homicide. And the family is saying that it wasn't a homicide. So we're thinking that May ceasefire weekend, we got through that weekend with nobody being killed. August 2018, we celebrated. We got through all the way to that Sunday at 7:00, and then we lost Kendall. And it was just devastating because we were on edge. And by Sunday around 5 o'clock, you like, okay,
We're getting
ain't
there.
nothing happened to anybody. We can kind of relax. And then we got a notification about Kendall, who got killed because one of his friends was murdered, and the guy that killed his friend didn't believe that he wasn't going to retaliate. And Kendall was just trying, I'm just trying to live my life, man. I don't want no problems with you. And so we've been in these ceasefire cycles since 2017, have had major spiritual successes. So when people get killed in Baltimore, we go to the space where the person was murdered. We declare the space sacred. We burn herbs, so frankincense and rosebuds and sage, and have rose water, and we pray over that space, and we pour joy into that space so that murder is not the last memory in that space.
Wow.
And I can't even describe the feeling of walking into a space where somebody lost their life and somebody else in the community sees us there with the smoke and asks us, can you smoke me out? I need a blessing. Like, give me, and kids, Black men especially, when they hold their arms out like that, like it does something on the inside. And like we can't. So when people talk trash about the movement, I'm like, it's because y'all don't know that this stuff is happening.
Word.
We have evolved to a place where we are now able to recruit ambassadors. So we have about 60 ceasefire ambassadors who have been trained to represent the movement. We have ceasefire schools. So there are schools in Baltimore City who are official ceasefire schools. So every ceasefire weekend, they host events and they build a culture of peace into the culture of their school. We have ceasefire organizations. A fraternity just reached out to us about becoming an official ceasefire fraternity. And so it is the slow but intentional and purposeful incremental changes that are happening in the culture of Baltimore City. On a spiritual side, like we understand that this is spiritual warfare. We get that. Like the spirit of murder has had its way in Baltimore for very, very long. And now there are different spirits rising up to say, no, you don't get to do this here. And that's a rough battle. It's rough. And one of the things that I'm most appreciative of is that if that energy don't do anything else, it reminds me of my light and how I gotta find, even when I feel like I ain't got it, I gotta dig deep and pull it out of me, because this is part of my assignment. I chose to come here to incarnate in this place at this time in this body for a specific purpose.
Word.
And so I'm here, and murder gonna get tired before I do.
Okay. I know that's right. You know, I wanted to go back to something that because I went to the Freddie Gray. I went to a demonstration for Freddie Gray back in 2015, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew that I was a part of like the numerous individuals in this country. I was deeply affected by that whole situation, and I wanted to come to Baltimore to talk to people. I wanted to come to Baltimore to be supportive. I wanted to just be a part of the solution. I didn't know a lot, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to just help. And I went up there and I saw so much community love in the space that I was in. And I saw a lot of trucks from press. I saw CNN. As a matter of fact, I saw one of my homeboys from high school that was actually running a camera or something like that. But you know, it was totally different than some of the pictures that were being painted about that
Mm-hmm.
whole situation and the
Mm-hmm.
looting and destruction and different things like that. And I'm out here looking at all these black people loving on one another
Right.
and children playing and different
Yeah.
things like that. And I was angry about that. But then I heard something that you said in one of the podcasts that you did previously. I think it might have been 2019. It might have been before the pandemic and all that good stuff. And you said that the mayor is a person, police are people. You know, I see a person, you know, I see people, I don't see the title.
Right.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
But I have had issue with press and
Mm-hmm.
the way that we are
Mm-hmm.
depicted in the press, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the structure, we know this is by design, right?
That's right. That's right.
We know it's by design.
That's
So
right.
it's taken me time to actually get to the point where I'm like, despite these booby traps, despite the system and the way things have been designed, we all have an individual opportunity to be a part of that solution, because just
That's
like you
right.
said, it's like this many people that are contributing to a problem, you know, but there are even more people that want to contribute
That's
to a
right.
solution, but they feel invisible
Yeah.
often. And I talked to a guy, I actually have video footage of the guy that said, you know, there are so many people that think that we're out here being these hoodlums, and they have such a false representation of us. And I could
Mm-hmm.
tell how much it bothered him. He looked like he was about in his 50s or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really appreciated his perspective, because that is part of the problem when it
Right.
and I'm so appreciative, and just, you know, I admire the work that you all are doing when it comes to trying to give us an identity, give our people an
Yes.
identity that they deserve, to
Yes.
understand that they are here and they
Yeah.
have purpose, and
Yeah.
their fingerprints are supposed to be here for a reason.
That's right.
And, you know, my cousin was the first PG County murder of 2009, based on a lie that was told about him. And I think he got set up at a gas station. His brother got shot too, but he lived. And I think more than anything, you mentioned the spiritual warfare, and you also mentioned conflict resolution. And those two things, when it comes to us healing each other and healing
Right.
ourselves, are two huge themes in my mind. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that, and the, like, just some of the initiatives that you guys take to help people? Because one of the things that Erica said in the TED Talk that just touched me so much to my soul was just the fact that she said something about the 10 minutes after someone murders a person.
Right.
I
Right.
always think about why.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that don't think about why
Yeah.
this is happening. Like, they look
Yeah.
at the actual reaction. They look at people like they're animals.
That's
You're
right.
in terrible conditions. Corner, like, I always look like one great place that you could look at when it comes to just the lack of infrastructure. Area called Eastover. It's kind of like by the line of DC and Southern Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And all you see, check cashing, liquor store,
Right.
church. You know, you see all these different places that don't necessarily that they can, like, the church can empower you, but we'll get on that in a second. But
Right.
you know, in my mind, I'm like, there is literally a battlefield set up for you to be a
Right.
criminal. Can you tell me, you know, tell me about some of the work that you guys do to get to more of the root of some of these issues with conflict resolution? Because I agree with you, conflict should not have to result in violence, and that is a technique that a lot of our people have not learned.
What the way that our social structure is set up, like, there's literally no place for us to learn it. So elementary school, you're being indoctrinated. Middle school, you're being indoctrinated some more. High school, you're being taught things that seem like they might be important, but when you turn 35, you're like, yeah, that wasn't really what I needed to prepare me to move on to the next place in my life. And so there is it's not built in to our education system for us to learn skills to navigate conflict. So it's not surprising to me that most of us, and we live in a white centered culture. We are very far removed from our African centered culture. And so a lot of the things that would be inherent to us, we are unfamiliar with. So for example, you tell a kid, when you go to school, you make sure you defend yourself. Somebody hit you, you hit them back. Self-defense is necessary. And a lot of stuff happens. Well, maybe not for little kids, because little kids are a little bit more impulsive. But the older you get, a lot of stuff happens before you get to the point where you hit somebody. So the point where the conflict actually begins and starts to simmer and manifest to the point where somebody gets hit, there is a lot of opportunity there for people to feel heard, to feel understood, to unpack what's actually going on, but we're not given the skills to be able to do that. And so we sit in our emotions, we sit in our reactions. And when I say we, I don't want people to think that I'm excluded from that, because you catch me on the wrong day, I'm not.
Listen,
my fuse is a little bit shorter. You know what I'm saying? I'm human. Sorry. And so one of the things that we do at so I am the deputy director at the Baltimore Community Mediation Center. Erica Bridgeford is the executive director at the Baltimore Community Mediation Center. And so all of our work professionally is around conflict resolution, all of it. Right. Getting people into mediation so that they can feel heard and understood, listen to understand, talk, resolve. And the power of a conversation, when you have two highly skilled, trained mediators there to help you to unpack your conversation, where they're not telling you what to do, they're not telling you what to say, they're asking you very pointed, open-ended questions to get you to dig a little bit more. And when you said that she never helps around the house, can you say a little bit more about that? And giving people space to get into the muck and the mire of their conflict so that they can see it clearly, so that they can see the person that they are in conflict with more clearly. That's all we do. Well, not all we do, because we also offer conflict management training and all kinds of skills where people can learn how to ask open-ended questions, can learn what conflict is and how, if you're sitting in a room and you're asking people, what is conflict to you? How you can see and hear the difference. So to me, conflict might be, somebody not answering the phone whenever I call them. To somebody else, that's not conflict. What do you mean? The person that they don't feel like talking. So it's sharing information, it's sharing perspective, and it's done under this umbrella of really relationship building and relationship healing. And so we are one of the best kept secrets in Baltimore City, but we don't want to be anymore. This center has been around for almost 30 years, and more people know about the ceasefire than they do about this center. Yeah. And the ceasefire is only 5 years old. So Erica and I and the members of the team here are going to be, because she just came on board as the executive director in 2020, very intentional about getting the word out the same way that y'all know about ceasefire and y'all all excited and get everything that you see me doing ceasefire. I learned through that mediation center, everything, all the values of my commitment to peace, all of those things. So if you wonder where that magic came from, come over here and look at this thing, and then you'll see the root of the magic. And so it's what we do professionally. Ceasefire is a movement. I like to say to people, we are an organized movement. We're actually not an organization.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Okay. And I feel like Mercury is in retrograde right now, so
Oh man, look.
they say techno innocent. Wait a minute,
It
what's
came
my
out swinging on Wednesday, I think. I think it was Wednesday. It came out swinging, and
I think
I've learned how to roll through the punches a little bit
listen,
better.
yeah. And wait, are we in are we in Taurus? We still in Taurus?
We are in
Or are we in
Taurus
Gemini?
season until Gemini season starts around like 23, 23rd,
Oh
something like that.
yeah. So this gonna be it's
See, I just love you because you talk exactly like I do when it comes to just all of this, like, and I swear, once I started to actually make the connections in those different ways, things just got
yeah.
a lot easier for me to
Yeah. You're like, why is that? Why my car break down? You know what? And I promise you, so my significant other, he we had probably 10 years of just trying to figure it out. That's what I'm gonna call it. The last 2 years or so have been more figuring it out. Well, I don't know what it is about Mercury retrograde, but we be on the verge of breaking up. And I'm like, oh, what is okay? Oh, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I like we today. I was like, I'm not. I'm a not
Yeah.
with you. We not doing this. And then I just when I said it, I was like, oh yeah. So we have to be extra careful. And he don't believe in any of that stuff. So when I say it, he be like,
Yeah,
just check
okay.
your attitude. And I'm like, no, you check your attitude. You know what? Never
It's so funny because, like, I definitely, like, I had always embraced the concept of meditation,
Yeah.
but in the last year, I have truly healed from a lot of things that I went through and
Yeah.
understood my own toxicity in this
Yeah.
process. I started to
Yeah.
meditate, and I absolutely don't know how I was surviving without it. That's how I
Listen.
feel about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
breathing is such a thing that we take
Yeah.
for granted until we have issues with it. We
Yep.
cannot do it.
Yep.
When I tell you, deep breathing is one of those silent wonders that people have no idea can just
Yeah.
help reset so many things
Yeah.
about that baggage that we carry. Like
Come
Erica
on,
Badu
honey.
said, you got to put them
Come on,
bags
honey.
down. You got to put them
Put them
down.
down. You
I
don't
was
even
so mad
realize
at
you
so many
carrying them.
different people.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with it. Like you know how healing is an ongoing
Yeah.
process
Right.
as you
Right.
continue to live life and make,
That's right.
build perspective. But when I tell you that putting some of those bags down was it was one of the best things I could ever did for myself.
Yeah. It is the 2020 opened up the door for me for a few things. One of them very specifically is minding my own business. Because I'm a busybody and I'm always trying to help people and fix people. And I know you ain't asked me for, but that and accepting people as is.
Right.
Just like whatever you walking through the door with, I'm not fighting with you about it. I'm not like and when I feel myself starting to, but you could that means you gotta go inside yourself. It's something going on with you. You might be avoiding yourself. But it is literally me focusing on other people and putting all my energy into them. And then being mad when I get hit with depression, like, why I don't feel like getting up today? Why am I so irritable? Girl, because you're not minding your business. God said, mind your business. God said, mind your business. Yours. You got a lot of business to tend to, sis. Mind it.
Man, listen, I remember I was working at NPR like back in 2012, and this one of my coworkers, and and I swear, like, I never heard the expression, so it was funny to me. He was like, don't worry about the log in my eye until you take the tree out of yours. And, and when he said that, I was like, come on, somebody, let's go. Because when you working around nosy people and you just like, you good? You strong?
Right.
But
Right.
I had a question for you though,
Okay.
because you mentioned the pandemic, and I wanted to ask you, do you have any thoughts about where you guys were in terms of the work when the pandemic happened, because obviously our country is going through so
Right.
much turmoil, so many different things are
Yeah.
changing, happening, and stuff like that. Such is life. That's kind of how things go, especially as our country and the history
Right.
of our country is concerned. But are there anything that you noticed about the pandemic and just the work that you've had to do since that particular shift happened in our country?
So the pandemic, we know that it exposed dark and dirty and toxic places in our culture that we could get by with ignoring, but like and because it slowed us down and it set us down, you almost had to go out of your way to ignore what was happening. And I appreciate the people who use the pandemic as an opportunity to really amplify and expose what was happening. So we know that, children, some kids, the only time they were eating were when they were in school. And so when schools were closed, we had to do something about that.
Right.
We found out that women and some men were being abused because they couldn't get out of the house during the day. So you got people in confines with one another all day long, every day. And so it exposed that. I think that some people had an expectation that gun violence specifically, that it would die down because we were in a pandemic. Because people, y'all got other stuff to worry about. Nope. It actually went up.
Yeah.
Because we're not dealing with roots. We're tending to the flower, the leaves that are hanging on the tip of the branches, but we're not dealing with the roots. And so when you don't deal with the roots of things, how healthy can a tree be?
Absolutely.
Like in real life. And so, and it tested our personal fortitude and our fortitude as a movement, because it was really easy. And it's easy for some people to say, I mean, it's a pandemic outside. I'm not, like we need to, I'm gonna focus on making sure that my family can eat. And that makes perfect sense to me. And I'm trying to perseverance. It's not perseverance. Obstinance is one of the values of the movement. So no matter what we come up against, we noticed that around November every year we get exhausted. So just like as a core group, it's something about building up all the way. And then November, we're like, okay, we need a reset. And we thought that it was on an individual level. And so until we started talking, I'm like, okay, you exhausted too? You spiritually worn out too? Okay, you frustrated. Okay. But it also gave us space to breathe and reflect. So a lot of things have happened. We adapted, moved events to virtual, which is a whole nother level of emotional and mental exhaustion. People
Was
think,
it more difficult? It was a lot more difficult, huh?
it was taxing in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
So event organizing is taxing regardless.
Right.
But you think, people just doing Zoom. Like, that's not okay. Until it's 50 people doing Zoom. And you're trying to figure out all of that and then engage, because so I know from, and I'm sure that there's a certain amount of our own personal energy that we pull from when we host, when we interview. Like because you need to keep people engaged. Absolutely. And you need to keep people excited about what it is that you're talking about. And you don't realize how empty that cup is. And so you're like, okay, I did 7 interviews and I can't do anymore. Watching everybody just be tired and be worn out. But also, you know, because we didn't stop, we recruited a lot of ambassadors during the pandemic that got us up to having 60 ambassadors. And so, you know, we adapted, we shifted, we retired, we rested, we came back. So we went through the gamut of the experience as a movement. My personal goal as a co-organizer for Ceasefire is that there's going to be a day where we don't have to call ceasefire like that's not a thing in Baltimore. We'll be able to amplify the peace challenge part of it. So just challenging everybody to be peaceful. And I look forward to that. And we can't get to that if we stop. You can't get to that day. We can pause. And sometimes some pauses are longer than others. Right. But, you know, the work has to be done. And if we don't do it, we meaning Baltimore as a collective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question about, because we were talking about, you know, we've been talking a lot about spiritual warfare. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's been a very big theme for me in the sense, and why I'm more like officially drifting into the mental health wellness, whole wellness place when it comes to Black people, and what we need to do to get that as a normal behavior and habit, because we understand physical pain. Right. We understand that if we cut our leg, we need to go get a Band-Aid, we need to get that peroxide, whatever we use to try to clean that wound. We don't understand the energy cleansing and the mental healing that is so necessary because of the actual machine that is created for us to be in this particular state, vulnerable and under the fold of power structure. Right. So my question to you is, how do you feel about religion and the way our community? I ain't just watch it. A couple months ago, I watched this special on Amazon called Contradiction, A Question of Christianity. I don't know if it was the word question in it, but it was contradiction, something about Christianity. Mm-hmm. And it was talking about how, in summary, it basically was just covering how a lot of super religious people haven't even really internalized the Bible. Even if they've read some of the scriptures, they can't really tell you where they are with certain specific questions that you would think someone this religious should know, right? So what are your views on, like, I definitely don't want to overstep anything that you don't want to talk about and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I am curious to know how you feel about religion, because I think we're very aligned on that when it comes to viewpoints. I grew up as a Baptist Christian. My grandfather was a pastor. But as I continue to expand my mind and my knowledge and my understanding of where that intersects with our, I don't even know what word to use. I'll just say slow us down. How do you feel about those particular things and how they affect us when it comes to delivering the messages that need to be delivered to people?
So I think a few different ways about it. One, and all of these are and. So this is not either or. That religion, all kinds of religion, when it is used with its core and highest intention, they can be used as tools to help to elevate people, because all roads point to the source.
Facts.
I think that people should be acutely aware that practices have been manipulated. And so you're not dealing with a pure practice, you're dealing with a manipulated practice. And being aware of that, and connecting with spirit, source, whatever you call it, so that you can discern what is actually for your benefit and what is being used to manipulate you.
Amen to that.
I think that there is a twist on our human desire to commune with one another and to feel like we're a part of a group and a community. I feel like religion has been misused in that way, and that it can disempower people to think for themselves, to think logically, to think rationally. I understand the contradiction in, but if you think logically, then does that mean that you have faith? Like, I understand that conundrum. And at the same time, I feel like, and I'm going to use the word God, God wants us in and not or.
Facts.
I think that I think that there are opportunities for us to develop rituals that help to feed us from religion, watching and learning all of the different things. But I also know that there is way too much temptation for our egos in religion. And mine is better than yours. What are you doing? The God you pray to, not like the God I pray to. When you have more than one God, and your God is female, girl. Like, it's way too much opportunity for ego to set in when, and I don't get to speak for other people. For me, religion is about relationship and connection to source. So if it's about relationship and connection to source, do I really give a damn how you got there? Like, when I really sit and think about it, like, do I care if you're nurturing your relationship and you're striving for whatever the highest form of that connection is? I don't care that it looked like this versus look. I don't care. Now, I don't want anybody to be lied to. But I really don't care how you got there, as long as it's rooted in truth. Mm-hmm. And knowing what it is that we're looking at. So the organization of religion itself, the part of religion that is organized, and that's connected to capitalism, and that's distorted, for us to really understand what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. Like, on like whatever your spiritual vision is, for you really to understand what it is that you're looking at, so that you're not manipulated, so that you're not used against people, because it's too easy for us to be used against one another. Man, it's way too easy.
That's what I think one of the themes are, honestly, when it comes to white supremacy, or just the way things are designed out here. And honestly, I think I'm still trying to work through my resentment for the way, two things: the fear mongering within religious practice.
Yep.
And also the way, I asked my father one time, actually, I said, does it say anything in the Bible about loving yourself?
Oh.
And he was not happy about that question.
Yeah, they did that.
He looked at me like
don't you dare.
Like, you grown, girl. Where my baby? Right. Give me that whole now. And in my mind, that's kind of where I kind of went to, because I always would hear love thy neighbor as thyself. But my dad would always say a quote, your very best is filthy rags. That's in the Bible somewhere. I'm not sure what book. But just speaking on, like, how you're this sinner, you're no good, your nature is to be evil. And it's like, our nature is to be both.
Right.
Our nature is both.
It is full.
Yes. And that the narratives like that in that particular documentary I just mentioned, it really, really just, I'm very, very passionate about this disconnect because I have a big
Mm-hmm.
family and most of them are religious and most of them
Mm-hmm.
clock out when they hear something that's anti or that they perceive as
Right.
anti
Right.
those doctrinations within the
Mhm.
Bible. And it's
Oh
like,
no, that's the devil. Be like, it's not. I'm talking about loving everybody and yourself. How is that the devil? This what we doing now?
you know, like in some of the healing, like even with my mother, like I've talked about meditation. I've talked about deep breathing. Things like my
Yeah.
mom suffers from, a mild version of alopecia, like just things like the stress hormones, things that I've learned in terms
Yeah.
of how our DNA is affected by these
Yeah.
things. Black women are so affected by the stress hormone cortisol.
Listen.
We don't understand how that
Listen.
affects our body and creates a breeding ground for disease and so many things.
Yeah.
And our culture needs us. And
Yeah.
it's so crazy how we are seriously just set up to be ill,
Yeah.
and mostly up here.
hmm Because up here will influence this.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
influences
They go
this.
hand in hand.
hmm
And then you turn to self-medication and different
Yeah.
things that just alter your perception of so many different things. And I just really, really, I just, I want to, because I love your perspective and with the way you just answered that about, how it's like, because I feel the same way. It's like if you're Muslim, if you're this, if you're that, the way you connect to source is the way you personally connect to source. The same way
Right.
you have your individual fingerprints and you
Right.
are who you are and you were designed to be the person you are, you're going
Right.
to take your path and other people will take theirs. I
That's
respect it
right.
all. But when it comes to Christianity specifically, I feel that it disarms us in so many ways because of the way it's practiced across culture.
Right.
Now, the
Right.
actual concept of Christianity, I'm not mad about that
Right.
specifically. Now, there
Right.
are scriptures in the Bible I take issue with, but just like you said, the narratives have been
Manipulated.
manipulated.
hmm
So it's hard because when I think about a book like The 48 Laws of Power and how, like, Robert Greene talks about how you take the truth and you put the lie within it like a little sandwich. Little sandwich. And you just feed it to the people. You're like, yeah, that sounds good, don't it?
Yeah.
Believe that other part too.
Right. Right.
Because that is going to inspire the fear that's going to have you move the way I want you to move.
Yeah. And
Drives me
fear,
crazy.
the vibration of fear is the
Man,
the opposite of what we're made from. It is
the
the
opposite.
direct opposite of what we're made from. And if you can get me to move in an energy that's the direct opposite of what I'm made from, you can get me to do anything.
Facts.
You literally can get me to do anything. You can get me to believe anything. You can get me to go anywhere. And you can get me to forget who I am.
That's
And
in
as
our
long as
DNA.
I'm in this state of confusion, you can go off and whatever master plan you have, it's wickedness on a level that
That's why I have so much respect for your group
yeah,
because coming from VA where there's such a melting pot here, there is a of kind of a veil that, and I remember
hmm
you using that term in one of the podcasts about how when you got to a point where a veil was lifted and there were more things you understood. And I
yeah,
think that happened to me a few years ago where it was like I could see where I was in the
yeah,
context of our, like, almost like how the Boondocks will illustrate these different personalities within the
yeah,
black community. I
yeah,
was kind of like identifying with where I
yeah.
was within the black community, and it was just like, well, ain't this about a bitch? That's right. And I'm just, and I'm just thinking to myself, there's so many of us that don't understand where we sit
Right.
into this whole chain, this food chain,
And
and
it's overwhelming.
it is.
Like I remember in 2004 beginning my journey because I was in a relationship that changed my life.
Mm.
And I remember in 2006 crying quietly in the middle of the night because I knew that I reached a point of no return. I had learned so much. I hadn't learned everything that I needed to know, but I learned so much that I would have to intentionally ignore everything that I see around me to stay the same.
Listen, listen. Woo. To try to maintain a softness as a woman, and to maintain, like, it's like we have masculine and feminine energy, some of us to varying degrees. But that's the part that bothers me, because, as you know, I'm not in a relationship right now, not in a committed relationship right now. I was for 6 years, or almost 6 years, with someone, and that was eye-opening for me. But to understand that as a woman that wants to maintain my, that core of my inner child, that core of who I honestly am.
Yeah.
And all these things, that has been my spiritual warfare, or one aspect, layer of it, because I've had, man, the anger, Lord, raising these kids, and them getting older, and me seeing the effects of certain things that were missing in their earlier years that I didn't.
Honey, don't stop me to talking about the guilt of motherhood, because that's a whole nother.
Listen.
That's a whole another 2 hour, because this and it's and layered on top of real subtle psychological abuse in relationships. Real subtle psychological abuse in relationships, layered on top of us navigating sisterhood and trying to really trying to figure out, like, how do I trust? Because if I don't, like, I worry about whether or not I can trust myself. Like, so how do I trust women who look like me?
We, like, literally don't trust anything.
Right.
It's crazy. Girl, so much. I'm telling you. Who sent
When
you?
is your birthday?
November 20th. I'm a Scorpio. And when I tell you, I didn't realize how true to my Scorpio I was until after I really started to understand the healing process. I was like, Lord, just a little damaged soul. Oh, melancholy.
And that's that's interesting. Erica's daughter's birthday is November 20th.
Oh, wow. I know so many November 20th people that I've come across in my lifetime, which I think is pretty dope.
Yeah. My youngest birthday, her birthday is November 23rd.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you, just real quick. Are you familiar at all with progressed astrology? I love talking to people about this.
No, but thank you for bringing up the term so I can look more into it.
So, our natal charts is that's a snapshot of a moment, the moment you were born. It's a snapshot of how and where the stars were in the sky. But our universe is a living and moving thing, and so things move and they do, they are active. And so for every year that you move one day from your calendar birth. And this is just for your sun sign. It's not for any of your other natal chart. So for example, when you turn 3 years old, your birthday is always going to be November 20th. But astrologically speaking, your birthday is now November 23rd. Because one day on the calendar is 1 year in the world. So if you do the math, so I'll use myself as an example. I'll be 48 this year. I was born August 9th. 48 days from August 9th to September 27th. Which means that I was born in the spirit of Leo. I operated for a good number, a long time, as a Virgo with Leo tendencies. And now I'm moving into Libra. So I never lose the Leo, but it's interesting because before I found out about progressed astrology, I would say to people, like, I don't know where my inner Leo went. Like, I feel like that thing that I had, like, it's missing. And then I don't know what, because I had a friend that was a Virgo, and I started looking at his character, and I'm like, I feel like this. Like, this is who I feel like. And so when you were around 3 or 4, you progressed to Sagittarius.
Wow.
And stayed in Sagittarius for about 27 years or so.
Well, that would certainly explain a lot.
Right? Right? And then from Sagittarius, you depending on how old you are, you will progress to Capricorn.
I already feel like my inner child is a cat. You know who I feel like my inner child is if I had to actually assign it to a person? It's a cartoon. Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Really?
I swear it's the inner child inside of me talk just like Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like real sarcastic.
Yeah.
Like, so you really gonna do that? So that's what we doing? That's what we doing right now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just gotta do this all over again. Okay, fine. Just remember I told you, right? Like all that whole sentiment.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And your chart moves. So like I feel like they said your moon sign changes like every 2 hours or something weird like that.
Well, the rising is supposed, because the way I see it, just like from psychology, you have the id, which is your ego.
Mm-hmm.
You have the super ego, which is your rising,
mm-hmm.
which is your rising sign. My rising sign is a Gemini, which is supposed to be the security guard of your inner child, like what you present to the public.
Yeah.
There's a personality that you present to the public that is supposed to have that level of like those different traits. My inner child is a Capricorn. Like I said, Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Mm-hmm. My ego is a Scorpio.
Yeah.
And so when I correlated it to psychology and the classes I had in psychology, it made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
So
I definitely can see Gemini with the communication and the radio and all it. Like that makes so much sense.
Gemini energy is something I'm very familiar with. My dad is a Gemini, Lord help
me.
But and my oldest child is a Gemini. Girl, I done dyed a lot of grays. I done dyed a lot of grays over the years. I think I've been growing gray since I was like 25 for real, because I've been claiming that age for like the last 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so dope when you can actually like make sense out, because I know for me, I've always been a type of person where I wanted to know why people behave the way they behave.
Yes.
And I wanted to have a good understanding of
when
it comes to just how I relate to them, because I understand that you meet people where they at.
That's right.
So and I think to some extent I've had issues with a few people. Like, when you live long enough, you have different stories.
Right.
But overall, I've always just embraced and loved people for who they are. Tried to, right? I will give my parents that, because it's like they definitely, they raised me to be somebody that respect people. Yeah. And so I, just looking at the different nuances, I started with the Myers-Briggs indicator.
Okay.
Which tells you about personalities as it relates to like career, people you get along with, issues you have, like, because I know for me, one thing it said about me was conflict and criticism is something that I have a big problem with. And as I healed, I realized that my toxicity was staying silent, using the silent treatment as a weapon, using and not even realizing I'm being in this manipulative spirit where I can't get you to behave towards me. Instead of saying this does not meet my standards, I can no longer participate. Having the fear of losing a person that you're not even quite sure should be in your life in the first place.
I'll be clear. Wait, this ain't ordained. This
thing is the Lord. Okay? When you realize, I remember Lord, I'm about to quote Mrs. Doubtfire. Sally Field on Mrs. Doubtfire said the truth was I did not like who I was when I was with him. And I remember having those issues and it really stemmed back to my first child's father, like where I would find these. I just remember being this younger person with all these feelings, like I wanted to embrace this person, but because of them acting towards me a certain way,
Mhm.
I was conflicted, and I remember
Mhm.
not knowing what to do.
Mhm.
And now I have way more of a vested interest at this point with especially our babies and these
Yeah.
younger kids, and how that and I think I'm gonna make that my last question before we start plugging a lot of your
Okay.
where people can find more information and that sort of thing. But I definitely I have a lot of interest in the way our babies are coming up and the angst that they have, just as kids in
Mhm.
general, and how
Mhm.
you get them to understand the skill of speaking on what they need,
Yeah.
speaking on
Yeah.
where they are mentally, and
Yeah.
understanding that emotions pass every 3 minutes
Right.
biologically.
Right.
Teenagers have and I remember being like this, thinking that something that happens is the end of the world. There's
Yep.
nothing that's going to happen after this besides
Yep.
this terrible thing that happened. Can you
Yeah.
tell me have you guys worked with any of the babies when it comes to this whole effort with the ceasefire? Because I know in DC, ever since this gentrification thing really started to
Yeah.
get a hold, and DC looks totally different now,
Yeah.
Whole Foods and such. Yeah. And these babies are hurting. They're
Yeah.
hurting a lot. So
Yeah.
have you guys been doing work with the children's and
Yeah.
and that sort of thing? Can you talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
We recruit ceasefire youth ambassadors. You can be as young as 12 to be a youth ambassador. Several of our ceasefire ambassadors work directly with children. So one woman is a teacher. She works with second graders. She gets them to paint rocks during ceasefire weekends, and they
Oh,
have conversations about violence and how violence is impacting them. And it is in alignment that you asked the question, because Erica told me the other day that she had an idea, because Cody is doing this work with children, to have ceasefire babies.
oh,
So anybody who wants their baby to become an advocate for nonviolence, it's not a formal training like it is for adults, but we're going to develop a program, because people say, children are the future, children are the present. They are the moment that we are in right now.
they are
And they're experiencing things that we never had to live with.
facts, especially
And
stuff being
so,
documented.
yeah, it is there's a level of exposure that is doing something to their brains that we won't know for probably 10-15 years down the line.
Facts.
So getting with them now, and getting them to learn how to articulate their feelings and talk about how they're being impacted and speaking for their needs is going to be really important to us. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I respect you guys so much. Like, I
Thank
can't
you.
wait until I can actually make it up there, because I'm in Bumbleclad, Tumbleweed, Virginia. I had to move after I ended my relationship, and I'm glad I did it that way, because the pandemic was literally happening.
Yeah.
Financially, it just
Yep.
made more sense for me to be with the
Yep.
tumbleweeds and some
Yeah.
random Confederate flags.
Yeah.
Girl, don't give me
Honey.
area.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people how to reach you
Yep.
and get more information about the Baltimore ceasefire
Yep. So if you
and the community center? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Baltimore. If you Google Baltimore Ceasefire, all of our everything will pop up. BaltimoreCeasefire.com. The Community Mediation Center is communitymediation.org. So if you go to communitymediation.org, you can learn all about the peace and mediation and conflict resolution work that we're doing. And Googling Baltimore Ceasefire 365 specifically, everything will pop up.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thank you so much for
Thank
taking the
you.
time to talk to me. This has
Thank
been
you.
I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, we got to do
I hope
this again.
yeah, we definitely have to do this again, because I want to cover, it was a topic you just said we need to talk more about, and we're going to talk about it soon. So
Yeah, we
I
can talk about some
appreciate
women things.
Yes, yes, ma'am.